Hello and welcome to Out and About Art, your PGTV source for all things art in Polk County. I'm your host, Dion Spires. You may have heard of two successful Tampa Bay Fringe Festival shows from the Polk County area titled Masterwork and Callbacks. The creative minds behind these works are Carissa Barber and Tom Mesrobian, and they're joining forces now with Tom's wife Tonya and Polk State College's Mark Hartfield to open up Polk County's newest professional theater, the Rogue Stage Theater. I caught up with Tom and Mark to talk about the new theater and find out a little bit about their opening show. Check it out.
Mark Hartfield, Carissa Barber, and my wife form the staff of Rogue Stage. And the four of us have been working in the community theater in Polk County, Orlando, and Tampa for decades. And Mark and I have talked a long time about doing a show, starting a company together. But we really couldn't find the right formula. So after doing several fringe shows together and kind of getting a team and a way of business going, we joined forces with Carissa Barber, and we decided that there's a certain audience out there that we want to reach. And it's an audience that doesn't really go to community theaters here in town. We are what's called site-specific, which means we don't have a building. We're going to do theater in different places. Now, site-specific theater is very popular in Orlando and Tampa, but it's really not happening in Polk County. And it's like, if you're doing a show, I went and saw a play about Equus, which is all about horses, that was staged in a barn. And you're sitting in a barn with hay bales all around you, the smell of the barn is in your nostrils, and then all of a sudden we start talking about horses, and it's a very powerful way to tell a story.
To me, the thing that's the most exciting about this is the concept of, hey, if we can't get them to come into our theater, then let's take our theater to where they are. Or let's give them an option that they're maybe not accustomed to, that may say, you know, they're doing this show down in the corner in the park. I think we should go see it because that's weird, you know.
We're going to look for different places to tell a story, be it bars or back rooms of restaurants or pop-up shows in the middle of the public park, shows that move from place to place that are interactive, choose your own adventure shows using technology that will take us all around, say, Munn Park in Lakeland. We start at one place and the story takes us to different places and the audience walks with us. So these are short shows, small casts, funky spaces, playing to the attention span of the Netflix generation, while at the same time delivering stories and storytelling that they're not going to get from there.
We're going to start right where we think we need to start from where we left off.
Great.
Dan Chesnick at Theater Winter Haven is a great partner, a great believer in what we do, in original art, in getting the theater out to the people. So, you know, he's been great in allowing us to use the Theater Winter Haven downtown rehearsal space when it is available. And that space is actually pretty great. I think some of the footage you shot the other night were in the kitchen, but that's actually gives us the exact dimensions of the space that we're doing, the show that we're doing, in the space that we've done in the art gallery, and then that we did over at Lakeland Live. So it really works out. This show is written by a fantastic writer and performer named Martin Dockery, and his wife Vanessa Quisnell did the dramaturgy, which is the research that went into the show. I saw it 3 years ago at the Orlando Fringe Festival and immediately fell in love. I thought it was one of the best things I'd ever seen, fringe or not. It was a wonderful piece of writing and performance. So I befriended Martin at that festival and asked him for a copy of the script, which was pretty bold to ask a writer for his unpublished work when, you know, he doesn't really know you. And we hit it off, and for some reason he decided to trust me with it, and so he gave me a copy. I swore up and down I would not do anything with it. 3 years after that, we decided to start Rogue Stage. When we were looking for a show to start off with, I could think of nothing better than this show. So I contacted Martin and Vanessa at the Fringe Festival, and we sat down and I spelled out the vision of Rogue Stage for them, what we wanted to do, and I said, your play would be the perfect thing for us to start off with, because it's different, it's edgy, it's complex, it's not things that we see on stage here in Lakeland or Polk County, and we want to bring this to a bigger audience. So after a couple of weeks of discussion, they agreed to let me do the show. Original, non-published work is important for us. We write a lot of our own stuff, or we're going to do stuff that's definitely outside the norm.
You know, a lot of theater that is done conventionally is bound within the boundaries of commercial. You know, I mean, they got to make their money. You know, and we would like to make our money as well. But if you keep the overhead down and you try new things, you know, there's still the possibility to do that while also developing a new audience that, who knows, may get up and go to the theater then if there was a room or a door or a stage to go to. You gotta be careful that we don't put the window everywhere. Right now the window's moving around a lot. And in fact, let's talk about where is the window. I mean, how right now when you're standing up, you're 6 feet tall, you're looking straight out, you're looking out a window.
Right.
So double hung window or bigger window, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Is it a window that goes past here, or is it just a window? In order to see the comment, you gotta or duck. You know, look.
Yeah. So
I think that's interesting.
Yeah, and that helps us to always know that we're looking out a window, because otherwise we're just looking this direction.
Right.
And we get it. I mean, I think we get it. Yeah. But to me, well, you know, to try to encourage people is to try to present something that they don't think, that they believe is different. You know, whether or not it is. I mean, they may still go to see a play. We may do something interactive that involves the audience more, which is also very interesting and intriguing. And if you've never been involved in a performance like that, it's a very different experience. I do think that people are interested in different experiences. I mean, otherwise we wouldn't, you know, have certain kinds of entertainment. The video game industry wouldn't be, you know, blowing out the doors regularly. There's always something new, and the idea is to try to take something that's old, which is theater, and present it as something new.
We have wonderful community theaters, and we have wonderful schools here. My partner, Mark Hartfield, in this theater, he is the head of the theater department at Polk State and does tremendous work there. And we don't need to do that again. It's being done. We're not looking to compete or take an audience. We're looking for people who don't normally go to the theater. Not that we don't welcome theater goers, because I think they will see something different for them. If they've seen the big musicals and they love those, here's a different kind of story. Here's a different kind of storytelling that I think will interest and captivate them. We are all about social media in that we don't have a brick and mortar location. We are all on the internet. So roguestage.com is our website, and that's got all the places there where you can subscribe to our email list. Email subscribers get first access to tickets. They get the breaking news first. They get invitations to special events and behind the scenes things that go on. So there's a lot of value to being subscribed on the email list. We also have a tab on the website for collaborating artists to join us, to send in resumes, whether it's technical or they're actors, and we're compiling a list now of people to call when we have a project. Say, hey, you said you'd be interested, would you like to come and work for us? That kind of thing. So that's the roguestage.com. Everything goes through that. Of course, we're on Facebook at Rogue Stage Florida, and Instagram by the same name, Rogue Stage Florida. All great ways to contact us and be in touch.
The Rogue Stage Theater has made its debut performing Moonlight After Midnight in Winter Haven last month and at Lakeland Live earlier this month. Keep an eye on their website at www.roguestage.com or follow them on social media for more information on their upcoming performances. Another new group to the Winter Haven art scene is the Winter Haven Community Singers. This is a community non-audition group which meets once a week every Saturday morning right behind me in the Chain of Lakes complex. All singers are welcome from ages 14 and up. They're led by local music director Philip King and are currently working toward their debut performance and their holiday program. Check this out to find out a little bit more about who they are and how you can get involved.
One of the stars. Welcome. Hi. Use your hands. Let's stand up. Inhale, exhale. In through your nose, out through your mouth.
Knowing that the Chain of Lakes complex is going under a transformation with the new addition that's going to be going on the south side, our city leaders have challenged us to really enhance the offerings that we have for the arts. So we do such a great job at the theater, and we're very well known for that. But we wanted to take that same philosophy and bring it to other areas of the performing arts, including choir and voice instruction, dance. We hope to add an instrumental and layers of instrumental training into here as well. So this building will gradually evolve over the next several years as to become more of a performing arts center rather than just focused on theater. And when you're dealing with Phil King, who I think might be a genius, it's great to sit down and just listen.
Dan Chesnicka asked me shortly after he started his job at Theater Winter Haven what I wanted to do, if I could do anything. And I said that I wanted to have a choir of my own because I play piano all the time for other choirs and for school choirs and things like that. And this was something I just have wanted to have for a long time. And he said, great, let's do it. And then for a year or so, we kind of just kept talking about it. And then this past summer, some money appeared from some very generous people. And Dan said, hey, let's do this now and let's get it started. So. You know, I was worried that, you know, it's something I want to do, but I don't know if anybody else is going to want to show up for this kind of thing. But it turns out that I think there's quite a bit of interest in singing in this community. So I'm excited about that.
And he talked about how he really thought that a community choir would be something that would really take foot here. And he was right. No sooner did we start this, we had 30 plus people show up right out of the gate. Before we've had a chance to put up any posters, that's just word of mouth.
There are people in this group who have been in choirs for 30 years, who read music very, very well. There are people in this choir who have never sung in a choir before, who do not read music at all. And then there are people who show up, again, on the second or third or fourth week, and that's great.
Can I hear that? Just the first, out of time. We're just doing that first Gloria. All right. Here it is. 1, 2. Gloria. Not bad. Now, the altos and sopranos do the same effect, but it's a little bit higher in the third bar. See that? Okay. So here's the altos and sopranos doing the same effect in the third bar. Ready? And.
The way we manage it is I try to do a lot of review on a weekly basis. I also try to get through a lot of stuff, and even if people aren't 100% there with us, I keep moving. You know, we just keep moving, and I have some, you know, supplementary recordings I can offer people if they really are struggling and want to work on the outside.
If you see somebody else struggling to like figure out where we're at in the music, you're like, okay, here, it's okay. And like just being understanding and knowing that we do come all from different backgrounds. I feel like he emphasizes more the emotion that we put behind the music, where yes, getting the notes down is very important and everything, but he wants us to convey a certain emotion and feeling to the audience that, or anybody who's listening right now, and I feel like that's more important to him. And it's always a good feeling where it's not like, oh, we're just robots reciting a bunch of different music.
I approach everything from a hyper musical, expressive kind of place, and so there's always new work to be done on a phrase. So even if you've taught one phrase, you can do 10 weeks on one phrase. If you know, if you have 10 weeks of new people showing up, you know, that's fine. But I do ask people to work fast with me, you know.
So here's the chord, top of 30, measure 31. Ready? Breathe together and sing.
Gloria in excelsis Deo, Gloria in excelsis, Gloria in excelsis Deo, Gloria in excelsis.
Not bad. You're doing really great work with this stuff in 7. We're losing the accents a lot, so I'm going to be up here just hammering things away, okay? Let's go back to measure 29 where the ladies.
You know, our theater is well known for its instruction making amateurs into professionals. You know, we're lucky to have Tony Award winners who have gone through our program here, and we have working actors and technical people spread out across this country in traveling shows and or theme parks or wherever. People come here, learn the ropes, and make a living actually doing this type of a thing. So we take our art pretty seriously, and the choir is going to be no exception to that. It's not just a bunch of people coming here to hack it out. It's about a bunch of people learning the art of what it takes to use their voice to entertain a crowd.
You know, a lot of people hear a choir and they go, oh, there's that community choir with, you know, the old lady vibrato and all this stuff. But you know, they're all working, and we're all working towards a common goal, and that's what, you know, that's what great community-based art is about, is using your various levels of people to create this, this other thing that's bigger than them. I can sit here and hammer out notes for 2 hours every week and just let people kind of crash and burn and sing along, but I'd rather give them the appreciation for the art form, you know, because I think that is on us.
Do it again, all together now. I'll do 2 bars, and you'll do 2 bars. So here's Gloria in excelsis Deo, Gloria in excelsis.
Gloria in excelsis Deo, Gloria in excelsis.
Not bad. Here's the F sharp again. So I'm going to sing, you're going to sing. So here's Gloria in.
The plan is to do 2 concerts a year right now, at least for the first few years, and we'll rehearse for the 10 weeks leading up to every concert. December 5th will be a Christmas concert at Hope Presbyterian Church in Winter Haven, and it's kind of a 3-part program. The first part is kind of traditional Latin Christmas material, so there's an Ave Maria setting, and there's a Gloria in excelsis Deo setting, and a little bit of a Magnificat. And then the middle section is film music from movies that are about Christmas. So White Christmas, there's a song from the movie Home Alone, Somewhere in My Memory. And then the last section is non-traditional kind of arrangements of traditional Christmas carols. So Angels We've Heard on High, O Come All Ye Faithful, Deck the Halls, but in very non-traditional arrangements that are kind of either way faster or slower or different rhythms or really complex harmony or something like that. So those are the kind of 3 elements of the program, and I think it's fun.
And 1, 2. With the altos, and. Yeah, and when you sing.
Great credit goes to this community, starting with our city manager, Mike Herr, assistant city manager, T. Michael Stavers, and the folks at the Department of Leisure Services, Travis and Andy and Donna. These folks have been remarkable in taking a look at the real estate that we have and trying to figure out ways, even before the new part of the building gets added, where we can use these buildings during its off times, it's not peak times, to be able to add more and more art into there. I mean, they have shown great leadership in this, and really, Theater Winter Haven is kind of along for the ride. So I really want to make sure that I thank them for the great leadership and vision that they have in making sure that art serves our community. And by serving our community, I mean our whole community. This choir that we're talking about here costs no one a dime. People can join it for free. There's no cost for the music. We buy all that ourselves. Any expenses associated with the choir are picked up by the theater. So we want to make sure that it's open for all members of our community, regardless of what their means are.
Anybody is welcome to come sing as long as you're over the age of 14. And we're buying music for everybody, and there's no cost to join and no expense for music or anything like that.
I feel like this is a very good environment. It's a very helpful environment where we aren't going to look down on you if you haven't read music or been part of choir before. And I think it's especially a good environment because we will help you along with it. And we just want to get together and sing out for everybody to hear and just for them to know our joy in music.
If you'd like more information on the Winter Haven Community Singers, you can contact Philip King at philipkingpiano@gmail.com. Their first performance will be a Christmas concert on December 5th at the Hope Presbyterian Church. Come on out and see what they've put together. Harrison School for the Arts held a creative writing event just last month to showcase the creative writing of their students. This particular event had a focus on poetry and prose and also included a short play to close out the show. I caught up with creative writing teacher Clifford Parody and a few of the students involved to find out more about the event.
Okay, the event tonight is our first creative writing event of the year. It's entitled How We Live in the World, which is just a broad kind of brushstroke term that I placed on it.
I guess this is an opener for the rest of the year. Really just starting off on the right foot, I guess is the best way to say it. Making sure that what we learned from last year is still present and that we can move forward at a much greater pace.
We have 3 a year. This is the first one. We've got another one coming up in February, and then our final one is in May. That's the big one for us because that's when we release the magazine, and we make it's a little bit more of a to-do with that one, a little more of a much bigger event. We have a guest writer come in to read with the students, and that's like the culmination of the entire year right there. It's mostly poetry, but we do have a play being performed tonight, also one work of prose. And really just, it's kind of all across the board content-wise, and that's kind of why I went with the title that we went with. These are pieces that they've written not necessarily for a direct class assignment, but that they've turned in for workshop, like where we're doing critiques and things like that. And every piece that you'll hear at the reading are things that have been turned in. They've been workshopped amongst their peers. Like I've run workshop with them. We've fixed them up here and there and tried to just make them as clean and as good as we possibly can.
I'm starting to think that maybe this, you, me, your keys on the counter, your goldfish that died this morning, they are the dream. And when you go to rest and your brain ignites, you're living your real life. Chasing bad guys, going skydiving, going to your dead grandmother's house to bake cookies.
Natural disasters never abide by an itinerary. The faults of the earth begin cracking under pressure of shifts, breaking open, exposing core, turmoil of magma and rock. I live in a world of repressed feelings, of unspoken thoughts and unfelt emotions.
When gods are born, the waters rise and drown away the guilty, purifying the world. For when gods are born, the winds kern and carry the birds, creating a bed of feathers for their birth.
I have been working on my personal play for 2 months now. One of my mutual friends through marching band happens to be in theater. She'd read some of my work. We were just passing the time, I guess, in the library after school one day, and she asked me, would you be willing to write something for me that I can perform for you? And I really liked that idea. So I was like, of course, yeah, I would love to write something for you. And it started out as just a quick skit that she could go up and do herself to, okay, well, maybe we could get 3 or 4 people to do this. And then it turned into, let's have basically a full cast of characters and let's explore this in-depth idea rather than just have a little skit that some people would laugh at the end.
I can't do this anymore! Please, leave me alone.
Whoa! Get off of me! Get off of me! Get off of me!
I'm so sorry.
I guess the initial concept just occurs with discussion, either be it like with yourself, as crazy as that sounds, or with other people. I tend to have ideas that I store away. Like I'll be walking down the hallway and I'll be like, wow, this is a really cool idea that I just thought of. And then I'll just either make a mental note of it or I'll write it down somewhere really fast. And then that idea may come back the next day where I'm like, okay, I'll write a piece about it. Or it might come back 2 years later. It just depends. It depends on how it's developed and conceived along the way.
I really do honestly always write about my grandma. Like she just passed away a couple weeks ago. And so she was just like always my inspiration to write just because she was an English teacher. So she always inspired me to write. And then she had like really bad dementia. So I kind of wanted to like in a way eventually end up like writing her life in a way, if that makes sense. And so she really was just like my primary inspiration to start writing. And she's just like the topic I write about constantly.
My poem, The Times My Father Has Cried in Front of Me. 4. I am 18. We stand in the hospital room next to his mother, strapped to a bed, covered in tubes. I know my father thinks of his high school friend. She is screaming, hallucinating, miserable, in pain, but cannot coherently communicate. She screams for us to put her down. I know my father thinks of our makeshift cat funeral. He grips her hand and strokes her hair. I know my father thinks of me. This is his breaking point. He crumbles. This is my breaking point. I realize my father is my weakness.
We always talk about how you write to be read. And so to me, like, the times my father has cried in front of me, for me, is like a really personal, like raw kind of emotion thing that I wanted to share. And so it's just kind of like I don't know. We always write, like how I said, we talk about writing to be read, and then like I always wanted to read the things to my grandma that I wrote about her because she would like cry because she'd be so like happy kind of thing. So I really just think it's like just showing other people, like, because some people don't think of writing as an art. Like I just know that some people don't. So it's kind of like, let me prove it to you kind of thing.
I didn't have this opportunity when I was in high school. I took one creative writing class in high school, and I ended up coming to creative writing rather late in life. So to be able to have a place when you're 14, 15 years old to go and take multiple classes a day within the genre, within the field, and get that and nurture that and be around other people who are into it, I mean, it's an incredible thing, and I can see the changes happening in the students. You know, the more they read, the more they engage with it. You know, you find that everything you write is in conversation with everything else that's being written, and that's a really powerful thing.
I genuinely believe parody he kind of shaped me more as a person, as a writer as well, just because like there was so much support there. And like I think I learned the most about myself is that like it's okay to be weird, and it's okay to write like the raw emotional things like that. Like it's okay to make people cry, make people uncomfortable. And like we also always talk about that, like if you can make someone uncomfortable, then they're gonna listen to you kind of thing.
Give me your bloody knees and the whites of your eyes. I want to rust your bones and fill your head with sand. The breath that gave me life is noxious, with lips of scar tissue. You'll paint my name with flowers I asphyxiated to remind you I am rot.
I think maybe it's because I'm tired of this, biting at each other's necks like dogs, except when dogs bite each other's necks, they're playing. We're fighting. The kind of fights my parents have, the kind of fights I used to look away from with the swirling feeling of foreboding in my stomach. Now, I no longer care.
So much emotion goes into the work, and one of the things with writing is it's a solitary craft. And I tell them that, like, you know, you're signing up for isolation in a lot of ways, because you can't. It's hard to write in a large group of people. You know, when you write, you're typically by yourself in a room. You know, either silence, music, whatever it is, but you're typically by yourself. So to be able to see them, you know, take this stuff that they wrote in their room, you know, maybe they're mad about something, upset about something, just feeling something, for them to be able to put that down on paper, first have the guts to bring it in and share it with their peers, and then to take it and have the guts to doctor it up, to fix it, as opposed to just letting it be and moving on to the next thing, to actually go back and treat it like a work of art and to work on it, and then to have the guts to stand up and read it in front of, you know, an open crowd. That's awesome. I mean, that's really, really cool.
A lot of students come in here really shy. Like I only have, when I came in here, I only showed a few people my work. I never showed like my parents my work. It was just a few close friends, right? But through Parody's instructions and then my own self growing as, you know, you get older and you mature, it's now like, hey, I have this piece, can you read it? Can you be my test? Can you give me a guinea pig to see if this line works or whatever? I think it's really important to just have that confidence in yourself and your writing and just spread your wings and go.
Harrison School for the Arts has a number of performances coming up, so be sure to check out their website, www.harrisonarts.com, for their calendar of events. That's all I have in store for this month, but there's always plenty happening in our Polk County art community. Stay tuned for a list of upcoming art events in your area. As always, thank you for joining me on this month's episode, and tune in next month for more art out and about.